Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Segers, and this time we're again joined by Derek Bittner and Ash Paulson from Game On to discuss all the news from this past week for Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. So let's get started. Alright guys, so this was, I would say, a fairly interesting week. There was nothing, I've said this many times before, nothing really mind-blowing, but there were a lot of semi-interesting details throughout the week. And that started on Monday with a look at the new Revival platforms. And they don't look drastically new, but they do look pretty sharp. But the more interesting thing is that they will actually change color this time, changing from yellow to red to show that you're running out of time before you'll automatically drop into the stage. So, again, it just goes to show the amount of detail they're putting into this game. And it's a cool touch. I don't know if it's one that's, extremely necessary, but it can't hurt.
No, it's funny because they talk, it is an interesting little change, but it's funny because they talk about, it tells you how much time you have left before you drop into the fray. And I don't think it's that useful for the person on the platform. I think it's more useful for the other players. It's like, okay, when can I start hitting this guy? And boom, there you go. So, like, the example comes to my mind is, like, let's say you have Supersonic and you're flying around like you were in Brawl, and now you have a good indicator of, like, okay, this is when I should go for that guy rather than trying to guesstimate it. So I think that's where the wrinkle is going to come in, not like knowing when you're going to drop back in.
Moving on to Tuesday, we get a look at the better look at the rocket belt. And we actually learned a little bit how it'll function this time. I mean, more specifically, we saw it in motion before. So you just tap the jump button and you'll fly upward. And Sakurai even says it's great for weaker recoveries, which is why we saw Lil Mac using it in the Nintendo Direct. I don't think there's a ton here we haven't discussed, but, it is cool to see a recovery item here, or another recovery item at least.
Yeah, I'm super excited just because I love Pilot Wings. I'm just really excited. Yeah, I love that they're including Pilot Wings in both Smash Brothers games this time around, and I'm just excited to see anything from Pilot Wings. And the Rocket Belt was my favorite, always my favorite vehicle in the first game. Mm-hmm. So and actually Pilot Wing 64. So I'm excited to see. Just see this item make a return in general. And it'll definitely help some of the characters, like we see Ike on here, and Ganondorf if he comes back, and, Sheik probably, some of the characters with slightly weaker recoveries.
Right.
Yeah, I guess the only question remaining on this is, like, how long does it last? Does it run out of fuel and just drop off of you? Does it, like, go flying? Yeah, what can we expect from that? Otherwise, I mean, it is a very different item. I think it's going to be kind of fun to have. It'll do I'm sure players will be able to figure out a lot of different ways to use this beyond just recovery. So I'm sort of just curious about the other aspects at this point, because we always sort of thought that, the jumping controls would control the rocket belt.
I'm kind of wondering what happens if you are hit while you're using it. Like, I wonder if it's something that can be stolen, like the Dragoon parts, or if it's something that is uninterruptible, or if someone does hit you while you're flying up, if they can steal it, or if it interrupts your recovery and the rocket belt just disappears. Like, I wonder how that works.
Yeah, that's the bigger curiosity here, is all the surrounding factors. There's so many different ways it could work that you can see them really going in any direction with it. But I think on their whole, it's one of the more intriguing new items.
Yep, I totally agree with that. Alright, moving on to Wednesday, we get a new detail about the game. Apparently, once you get high up in damage percent, your character will start smoking, which provides like a nice visual indicator that it's, using a smash attack probably wouldn't be a bad idea at this point. This is something that never would have occurred to me. I mean, it's cool, I guess. Now the little touch they're adding, which they're all about, it seems. I guess it's just a nice little visual indicator, so you don't have to keep consulting the damage gauge. But
you got to wonder at what point you start smoking. Is it sort of a gradual thing where you just do a little bit of smoke, and the higher percentages you're just like covered in smoke, like the smoked a grenade?
The way he puts it, it sounds like it will start like once you have heavy damage. So once you reach like a certain percentage, it sounds like it might be just a digital thing. Like once you reach a certain percent, then the smoke just starts happening. So
yeah, I'm sure it doesn't get too obnoxious or anything like that.
Well, it still looks pretty subtle in this picture. Even like it's noticeable, but it's not overbearing.
Well, and then in the screenshot, Sheik is at 160% and Yoshi's at 170%. So I feel like it's not really going to be that overbearing.
I do like that he chose to showcase this on the hottest level in the game that we know of, being Pyrosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is, I guess, a cute little touch, but I'm not sure if it's really necessary. It just seems like I don't know. It just seems like kind of like a okay, so and type thing.
It's kind of like it feels. I mean, it feels kind of like they're just adding features because they can now. Like features you would never think of or aren't even necessary. They're adding.
I could see it maybe being useful on a giant stage like Palutena's Temple with the camera zoomed out. I mean, maybe it would make it easier to not only keep track of your character, but kind of just see at a glance that you're about to die. But I don't know. At the same time, you could just look at it's your damage indicator.
Man, I really wish Friday's screenshot was next, but that would have been a perfect segue to it. I think that covers it for that picture. So let's move on to Thursday's picture, which gives us a confirmation or a visual confirmation of Ike's Eruption attack being back, and it appears to function exactly as before, where you just hold down the B button and he'll charge up. And if you keep charging it, though, you will continue to rack up recoil damage, as Sakurai again confirms.
Well, this was the only attack that we hadn't seen. I mean, we had said we thought we saw all of them, but we kind of forgot about the eruption, and oops, but oh well.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is back. Nothing really affected it. We just sort of, for some reason, got mixed up. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
But when I realized our mistake, I was wondering, okay, well, are they going to change the eruption at all? Is it going to be any different? We could have talked about that. That was the only regret. But now that we see it here, I'm like, well, we didn't miss out on anything at all. It's same old, same old.
I like how Mario here is dodge. He's like, oh crap, what have I got myself into?
Ike seems to be mostly unchanged, really. He has all of his same specials, and he seems to still be a heavy, powerful character, and he's bulked out even more now. So he just seems to be mostly similar to how he was in Brawl.
It's funny you say that, because we've said that about a lot of characters before, and usually he comes up with a tweak or change to some part of their moveset. But I'm trying to think about what he could have changed for Ike, and other than making him slightly more powerful or slightly faster or something to that effect, I can't really think of anything that is really different from what we've seen compared to his character in Brawl.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to tell. Like we've only seen him in pictures so far. So it's hard to tell if they've actually tweaked damage or speed until we see it in motion. And there's a lot of variables there that they could play with to make them feel different than they want to. I'm not saying they will, but yeah, we have seen it with multiple characters before where they looked identical, and then it turns out they actually do have some changes. So
right.
Okay, moving on to Friday. This might be the most interesting picture of the week, and I should say pictures, because there's actually two of them. The first one, we get a look at the bottom screen of the 3DS, what it's going to display during a match. And it'll show each player's icon, and it'll give you their damage percent, and it'll also, say what player number they are, and put the player's name on there too if you have one. The more interesting thing though is apparently you can tap on any one of those icons, and it'll put like a targeting reticule around that character, which should just make them more obvious. So Sakurai points out that you can use this too, like if you want to get revenge on someone, you can put that targeting reticule on them so you know who to target. Or you want to keep track of yourself better, it'll make you stand out even more. So to me, this is a pretty interesting change. I've never had that much trouble, keeping track of my character before, but there have been times, now that I think about it, that I have got lost, whether it's because someone else is playing as a similar character, or just because there's so much going on, like if things are flying everywhere, you can't lose a character for a second or two. So this actually addresses that.
I think we've all had that moment where things get so chaotic and we lose track of ourselves, and this is really a clever way of handling that, and even giving it some making some options available by allowing you to target other players as well. So if you have just that rival, like this person has beat me how many times in a row, I really want to get them out as soon as possible, I'm going to target them. Or if I want to avoid this person, put the target on them and stay away. So I don't know, it allows for some options for the player. Not quite sure how often I would use it personally. Maybe a little bit. I have to play with it a little bit, but overall, it seems like a good change. Yeah,
I mean, I can say for sure there have been times where I've lost track of my character. So, I mean, I think this is definitely useful. And, for being the 3DS version too, being on a smaller screen, I think it'll be especially useful. And it seems like they're really putting a lot of effort toward minimizing that possible hazard, because you have this, and you also have the adjustable outlines in your characters. So, it really seems like maybe in testing and in development, they found that to be an issue on the 3DS or smaller screens. So they, you know, decided to do a couple things specifically tailored to kind of reducing that sense of confusion.
Well, that brings up a good question. Will this only be on the 3DS version then, or do you think they might somehow add it to the Wii U version as well?
I guess it is possible to put it on the Wii U version, since you have the gamepad.
But that would be for one player, though.
Yeah.
That'd be just for one player. Plus, we have the whole, of course, the addition of the GameCube controller now. Plus, if anybody uses any of the other classic controllers or anything like that. But I think the telling part that it's not going to show up on the Wii U version is Sakurai's last line,
right?
Where this is a great benefit to having your own individual screen.
But you could do that like if you're playing online or something by yourself, or just you on one system and playing online against 3 other people.
That is true, but once again, you're not always going to be using the gamepad, and I don't think that's going to happen too often. But maybe you can just put the gamepad aside and there it's displaying that, and you can just tap it quick.
It's another one of those changes I would have never expected to be in this game. And yet it seems to... Well, this definitely makes more sense than the steaming one. I can see, some use for this. I don't know if I'll use it either. But I've never found it to be that big of an issue. But, it could be useful. It seems more useful for me for keeping track of your character than Sakurai's other example of using it to, keep an opponent in mind. I've never had that be an issue.
Yeah.
Alright, I think that wraps up our Smash Brothers discussion this week, so thanks guys for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, which you can find links to in the description below. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS news and other things gaming as well. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.